upon all who participate and listen, that we may grow in our capacities to do good. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jeannie.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Karen. Welcome, Angel. Now, did you come tonight because you wanted to learn more about extra things about censuses, or did you come because you're just in the series of coming? I'm going to reword that. Did anybody come specifically because they wanted to know more about extra things about the census?
Yeah, I cared about that. This is Jeannie, but I'm flexible. I'm flexible. So.
Okay. I just kind of wanted to know who my audience was, because if somebody came and that was their whole purpose of coming, then I'm going to approach it a little bit different than if that isn't somebody's whole purpose for coming. There have been two things that I have learned about lately, except I didn't finish learning the first lesson. So I'm not going to be able to teach it properly at all, but I'm just going to mention it. Family Search has begun a way that members of a family can collaborate together on Family Search. When I understand that better, I'm going to teach us about it. Okay. Second thing, as I learned yesterday, and I did learn this. Sometimes a group of friends or family or ward members or Relief Society or Priesthood Quorum or wards young women or something like that want to cooperate in their indexing. Maybe they even want to have a contest between them and another group or something. And how do they manage that? Now, Helen taught us once that in a lesson, but finally it has hit my brain. So now that it's hit my brain, I want to show you what to do. And so this was a question for one of the sisters that I was helping yesterday during our indexing party. And so I learned how to show her how. So now I'm going to show you how. So for this minute, I am going to go to share my screen, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So for the purpose of this lesson, I came to Family Search. Where is Family Search? Here's Family Search. So when you come to Family Search, this is your opening screen that you get. This part is going to be different because it's going to be about your family. But this is the way mine opened up today. Okay, so I'm going to come up to the main bar at the cross at the top that says all the different things Family Search does, and I'm going to choose indexing, and then I'm going to choose web indexing. Now, because I am logged on to Family Search, this is the page that shows up, and this is the page that is going to tell what batches I've started, how much indexing I've done altogether. What, John?
What's the difference? You said instead of this, we go to web index. If they weren't there yesterday, they wouldn't understand the difference. What's the difference between that first option and you went to the web indexing?
Okay, well, I'm going to kind of tell you this. When indexing first started, you had to download a program about indexing on your computer, and you used that program to do your indexing. Now they have figured out how instead to do it on the internet. So you don't have to download a separate program on your computer any longer. You just go to Family Search and indexing, and then you're working on the index on the web. And the advantage of that is that whenever you stop uncompleted, it saves it. And it keeps track of it. So it knows what the system knows. And I'm sure they've got workers that monitor that, but they know what batches you've got checked out. They know how many days you've been working on them. They know how well you're doing. So they know that I have a batch checked out called Massachusetts Boston tax records, and it looks like that I have to have it finished by the 22nd of February, And if I don't have it finished by the 22nd of February, they are going to decide that my life got busy and I didn't finish it. And therefore, they will take it and send it to somebody else and let somebody else finish the unfinished parts of it. And so that is all done on the internet now constantly instead of me having to resubmit it or anything else. Now, as you look at this page, yes.
Did you say we do get onto Family Search first and then and then somewhere on Family Search it tells us to go to indexing and then we're off Family Search? Is that
right? So let me if I click on a new tab for my screen, and then I click on Family Search because I have a bar there, or I can type in Family Search on the search engine. But so when I turn on Family Search, this is the introductory screen I get. And all of you get a screen similar, but not exactly the same because your family is different. But over here where it's got the Family Search logo, and it's got a bunch of words that show what you can do on Family Search, one of the words is indexing. So you click on that word indexing, and then you have these options: an overview, which teaches you how, indexing itself, web indexing, find a project, or help center. And most of us are going to go straight to web indexing and open up web indexing. So when I opened up web indexing, this is the screen that opens up. And this is my participation in web indexing. So among the things it showed was that I have a batch checked out, like I just mentioned, that in the past, these are the totals of what I've done, that in the last month, this is what I've done. Doesn't look like I've been very fruitful, does it? And then down at the bottom, it lists every group that I'm associated with. And most of us are going to automatically be associated with our ward and with our state. But sometimes we're going to want an additional group. So we might want a group, like I said, for the young women in our ward, or if we're a young women's leader, or if we're a deacon's quorum, we might want the deacon's quorum of our ward or something like that. But this is when we want a special group for competition reasons or other reasons, just that we're related to. So I started one. I started a new group, and I called it Hugo Family. And so now we have a Hugo Family group. And I sent out, when I started it, I sent out a little email saying that I was starting this group so that we could all get ready to do the 1950 census. And so if you wanted to join it. Now, I didn't figure out how to send them that message through Family Search, although there probably is a way. So I just sent them a text. I sent all of my children and my husband and some of my grandchildren a text. And these answered. Now, when they answered, then I had to answer it. So that's the messages total that have been done. Now, if one of those people gets this text from me, if they come down on their page to groups, so I need to go up a bit. That means I have to move my Zoom stuff. I'm going to go back one arrow so that I can show you again what the screen looked like. So this is what the bottom of my indexing screen looked like. And so when anybody gets my text, then they come down to this place that says groups, and they go to this tab, this box that says find groups. And then they click find groups, or else if they want to start a new one, then they would choose the option that says start a group. And so then they would need to type in, it says find groups, and it's got all these different groups listed. They would need to type in Hugo Family. And then when they type into Hugo Family, then Hugo Family is going to show up. And I think it has to have capital letters or it doesn't work. And it might not work since I'm already there. But so if I do a search, Hugo Family Group shows up. Then, because they aren't there yet, then they click on Request to Join. And then when they click on Request to Join, then because I started the group, I'm going to have another page that gives me the option of saying, these are pending requests to join, and I click on them and say, yes, you can join. So that is what I did to start our family group. And then we chose, back in the Hugo Family Group, we decided that to start with, the project we're going to ask all of our members to do is the U.S. Illinois Monroe County deed records. And so when they open up this page, they can click Index Now, and they can start indexing. Now, if I'm correct, and I'm not 100% positive, but I think I am, after you have indexed 100 records, then you are given the privilege of reviewing. And so then you click Review Now, and you can be the person that resolves questions about, is this correct? I think, I'm curious if that's going to be required of people that work on the 1850 census. If it is, and we should find that out in March at Roots Tech, then we're really going to want everybody to have 1,000 names indexed by then, but it might not be required. But that is how I set up the Hugo Family group. So now, if any of you want to set up a family group or a friend group or a church group, then you will know how to do it. You might notice that there are 110 members in our town hall ward. I kind of think that anybody in our town hall ward that's ever done indexing was chosen to be in that group, even though they didn't know so. And Provo South Stake has 600 members. I think it's the same. I think anybody in the Provo South Stake that has ever indexed becomes part of that group. Now, maybe one thing I didn't show you was how much our family has already done since I sent out this invitation. Today, people in our group did about 13 names. So that's what we've done so far today. And I hope that it's much more. I didn't yet set a goal because I'd kind of rather get some feedback from my kids before I set a goal. But that is how I did that. And if they don't like that project and suggest another project for me, then I will add it here on Add a Project. So that is something that came up yesterday. One of our attendees yesterday was the Relief Society president, who is taking seriously our challenge that we get ready to index the census and work through our Priesthood and Relief Society organizations. And so she wanted to get it all set up. This is the 6th Ward Relief Society president in the Freedom State. So that was new. Now we're going to talk about beyond the basics in censuses. And I think that there is a tool that is going to be really helpful for us as we begin to do this. And that is, if we just come up to our basic family search page again, I think if we use the Family Search Wiki. Now, you know, the Family Search Wiki is kind of little lessons and gathered information about specific things about family search and searching. And so if we come up to the search button here on this main list of the different things Family Search does, if we click on search, the very bottom thing is the Research Wiki. And so the wiki has some similarities to Wikipedia in how it's collected. So when I opened up the Research Wiki, this is the screen I get, and I have two main options. One is I can type in a place or a topic, or the other one is that I can click on it on the map. So if I click on North America and I click on North America, it's going to give me a list of countries here that are in North America. So I'm just going to click the United States to start with. So I click on the United States. Then it's going to give me a list of counties. And so I'm going to click Missouri. And it's going to open up a page. If I clicked it hard enough, it is going to open up a page that tells me everything that I could possibly think of asking about how to get started with research in Missouri. So now I'm going to have to move my pictures from Zoom again. And on this side of the screen, on the right-hand side of the screen, is a list of topics that are on this Missouri page in Wikipedia. And I'm going to come down to the census because that's what we're talking about is census. And it is going to give me this really nice chart, two of them, in fact, about censuses. Whoops, now I'm trying to move my pictures. I don't know if you see the same pictures I do or not. Probably not. You maybe see just the screen, but I see pictures of everybody that's here. So here is a list of the population schedules that are online, that have been made online from the federal census. So since Missouri is the United States, that's the United States federal censuses. And down here, it gives me a list of all of the censuses that are available. And when things are written in blue, it's always a link. If you click on that link, it opens it up. So if I wanted to search the Missouri census for any year, I could click on that and it would open it up for me in Family Search. Or if I clicked, it also is available on Ancestry. So I could click the Ancestry word and it would open up for me in Ancestry. Now, some of the censuses that are extra censuses that we hardly ever talk about are listed here. These are the non-population schedules for Missouri. So I'm going to look in 1990. 1990 is the veterans schedules. So if I want to know if my ancestors were veterans or if their wives applied for a veteran's pension, I can click on that link and it takes me right into Ancestry, which is going to do it for me. So if I type in George Michael, because I have reason to believe that George Michael is a veteran. Whoops, I'm going to undo my caps lock and type it up again. And
yeah.
So I am not remembering his death date. I didn't make note of that in my paper, darn it. But I think it's about 1867. I'm going to put 1867, and then I'm going to put within 5 to 10 years. And then I'm going to say that he lived in Adair County, Adair, Missouri. And I'm going to click search. And it says I returned 0 matches. That's probably because I don't have enough information about George Michael. So real quick, I'm going to go to my family tree and look for George Michael. As I prepare all of these ideas in my brain, sometimes I just don't get everything, all the notes made, and I apologize for that. He is a son of Hugh Michael. Half of Hugh Michael's sons fought in the Civil War and came back in not good health. So he is one of those.
Wow. With all those kids, you'd think you didn't have too many
But I'm not seeing George there. Are you seeing George there? Yeah.
Right there,
Okay.
yeah.
So we better take our notes and write down that his birth was in 1831 and his death was in 1876. Okay. So now I can go back to my ancestry page and start that search over again. So I'm going to go back arrow. Now, one of the things about about searching is that you never get, you always have to think and work a little bit harder. 1876. And his name should be, that should be his name. Ancestry's willing to populate it for me. If I come down far enough, it will find George Michael and I'll be able to click on that, on his name, and it might fill in more information because it does an auto-populate thing. Okay, so now let's search again for George Michael. And darn it, it showed him up last night. So why not? Darn it. So I'm going to go back to ancestry. Yes, was somebody giving me advice?
Yeah, that last one you had say he was born in 1833, and your records show 1831. Maybe that made a difference.
That is certainly possible. Here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find it through, because it's listed as a source now on his page in Family Search. So I'm going to go directly to that copy of it and see if it doesn't find it faster for me. Now, this census is going to look quite a bit different than the regular census looks. We're used to a way different format than we've got here. And now I am opening, if you noticed, I am opening the 1890 census, the part of the 1890 census that is for soldiers and veterans. Now, isn't that interesting? Because he died in 1876. Here is his name. It says that Susan E. Michael is the widow of George Michael from the Missouri State Militia. And it does not tell me what his rank was, and it doesn't tell me how long he served, which it would have done if he would not have been in the state militia. But that tells me right there, that information. Yes, it verifies that he was a Civil War veteran. And now I can write either through the National Archives website or through Fold 3, which is our military website. I can look up his pension. And when I find his pension, I will find all of the papers that his widow, Susan E. Michael, submitted as she applied for his pension. So by looking up this, I verified lots of things. I verified that he was in fact a veteran and that he left a widow who could apply for his pension. So that is a very good thing to be able to check. The next census I want to show you, I could not find last night. So I'm very curious what source I used last time. I probably used the Missouri State Secretary of State, because the Missouri Secretary of State has lots of records on his website. But there is in the 1870 census, So if I go back to that Missouri Census page in Wikipedia, in 1870, one of the things that's listed as a different kind of a census is a mortality schedule. And so I have found in the past my ancestor, Lily Wade, who died New Year's Day, 1870, leaving a 2-week-old baby behind. I have been able to find her listed in the mortality schedule, which was the people who died during from the time the census taker took it for the previous 12 months. So I can use that to prove that she in fact died when family lore said she died. So that is a very good census to show you. Now, as you'll look, most of these other censuses are managed by the Missouri State Archives, by the Secretary of State of Missouri. The next one I want to show you is, so I'm going to go back to Wikipedia. I think I'm going to start at the very beginning in Wikipedia. And so I'm going to go to search and Wikipedia, and I am going to look this time for Kentucky. So I'm going to say Kentucky. And then when I click Kentucky, it is going to take me to the same kind of a thing, the Kentucky page for Wikipedia. And it has so many things that I can do here, but the one I want to do is over here to the right-hand side, the census. Now, let's just use this theory question. It's not a regular census that I want first. The first thing I want is the non-population schedules. Now, the non-population schedules is a little bit deceptive, but I want to look up the slave owner censuses. The slave owner censuses, and it says check ancestry. So I'll click on that ancestry link and it will take me over to ancestry. So what I want to look for is the 1850 federal census of slave owners. It won't tell me the slaves by name. It will tell me who their owners are. So I'm going to try Peter Scholl. And this was done in 1850. Let's see what I can pull up. In fact, I'm going to just look under Scholl. Let's see what I can pull up for Scholl in Clark County, Kentucky. And do a search and see what I find. And I don't find Peter, I find Joseph. Right here in Clark County, Kentucky, I find Joseph. Now Joseph and Peter are relatives. Okay, so let me click on view the record. And over here it comes, view the record. And it is going to show me Joseph Scholl. And all it's going to tell me about it is that the slave owner's name was Joseph Scholl. He was 47 years old. And he was Black. Now, certainly that's not a female for Joseph. Then living on with him is one slave that is 12 years old, a male and Black, and one that is 11 years old and a male and Black. Now, it didn't give me any names, and this is a good 10 years before the Civil War, but it does tell me that Joseph Scholl owned slaves in Clark County, Kentucky. Now, I might not be too concerned about my slave ancestors, but if I had slave ancestors, I might like to know very much who their slave owner was, so that I could see if he lists in his will or otherwise the names of his slaves. So, although this has not been a particularly important finding for me, it is an important thing to be available. Now, let's see if we can find out more about Joseph Scholl. So now let's go back to our Wikipedia for the Kentucky Census. And let's look up the population schedule for 1850. So we're going to go right to Family Search to 1850. And this is a template for the United States Census of 1850. So I can just go ahead and fill that out. Joseph Scholl in Clark County, Kentucky. Well, for some, I didn't move my cursor. Clark County, Kentucky. And we already know it's 1850, but we could choose 1850 again and do a search. Now, here is, immediately I find 2 Joseph Scholls in Clark County, Kentucky. And so let's look at the picture of that image. And by clicking that little camera icon, we can go directly to that census record. Isn't that slick how you can use the Wikipedia and do that? So at the very top of this page, it is going to tell us that in District Number 1 in Clark County, Kentucky, taken on the 17th day of August, and lists the enumerator. Here is Joseph Scholl. He is a 58-year-old male who is a farmer who says his estate is worth $1,000. And he was born in Kentucky. D-O means ditto from the first line above it that doesn't say ditto. And it says that his wife is Melinda Scholl and that he has 3 sons and a daughter. And so his sons are 17 years old, 15 years old, 13 years old. Oh, and daughter is 19 years old. And so that tells me about his family, a little bit about his family. It also tells me that he lives next door to a William Scholl. Now, if I go to Family Search again and do a tree search, and look up ancestors of mine who have the last name of Scholl, here is Peter Morgan Scholl. And I think if I look up his children, I am going to find, if I get down, am I on details? I need to make sure I am on details. Okay. If I go down and find his children, I'm going to find Joseph Scholl, and he is going to no doubt be that same Joseph Scholl. So I can look up here and see if he has additional children than he had at the time of that census. Looks like he has a whole bunch more than he had at the time of that census. But his wife's name is Melinda, and this is some of the names of his children, same as before. Now, I have proven something that I'm not all that happy about. I have proven that my ancestor, Charity Scholl Boone, Charity Scholl Michael, is from a slaveholding family in Kentucky. And I would just as soon not have known that. But now I do. And I also know that Charity Scholl and her husband, even though Charity had grown up in a home where she was cared for by slaves, she and her husband had 12 children and did not have slaves, and sent 5 sons or 4 sons to fight in the Civil War on the Union side. So that tells me what her convictions were about slavery. And I am pleased to have found that out. But there are a lot of African Americans who want to trace their ancestry, and this bit of information is so important to them. Now, I do not believe there is a source for Joseph Scholl listing his will, but if he owned slaves and land before he died, he is no doubt going to list those in his will. So that is something that African Americans would want to research. If they were researching, they would want to find out if he listed these slaves by name in his will. So that is a very important census, even though it has some negative connotations.
I have a question.
Yes, John.
For example, this one guy's got 15 kids plus. Could any of those children been listed on a census like this that showed that they were if they were slaves, if they were listed as the household members of this particular family or a family? If they were a slave, would have they been excluded or included?
In the United States Census prior to the Civil War, meaning all censuses prior to 1870, the only African Americans listed, or they listed them as B for black, the only ones listed are those that were free. So any that were slaves would not be listed before the Civil War. Now, is that what you asked me?
Kinda.
So none of these children are slaves.
Okay.
So do you want to word it again, or should we go on?
No, I'm just saying maybe not in your case, but in other cases where they were more friendly, or there was a child born like we know a lot of them were. The owner had a baby with a slave, and maybe they would have named that son or daughter. They normally
this is a very black part of American history. If that slave was fathered or mothered, but usually fathered by a black, he would be listed as M in his race. He would be listed as a mulatto instead of black or white. And if he was born a slave, he was not considered his father's son.
Okay.
So he would not be listed as a child on his father's family search.
Okay.
And that brings up another very sad part of American history, and that is that at one point in time, and it might have been the Emancipation Proclamation, it might have not been, it was against, let me see if I can pull out the correct history. It was illegal to buy slaves. So slave owners found themselves at a disadvantage when they were used to slave labor. And the only way they could continue to have slave laborers on their land without buying it, which was illegal, was to father the slaves. And many, many slave owners did that. And that is a sad part of our history.
Well,
but they would not be listed with that father on that mother on family search. If they were listed, they would be listed by the slave owner and the slave mother, and then they would be listed then as one of the children of the slave mother. And definitely there are those, like I just said. Okay, now we're going to go back to our Wikipedia page. Only this time we are going to do, for our research wiki, we're going to choose North America. And over here are different countries that are in North America. And this time we're going to choose Canada. And this time we're going to choose Ontario for state. And so here we are on the Ontario page, and it's going to tell us how to get started with Ontario research. It's going to show us the map if we don't remember which part of Canada is Ontario. And we're going to come over here and click on Census. And if we read about this, it's going to tell us that prior to 1861, censuses were not taken by the federal government of Canada. Sometimes the province took them, but there were none in the federal government. So the first one that's going to show up is in 1871. And there are 3 places I can check that 1871 census. I can check Family Search, Ancestry, or Find My Past. And I think we got a better reading yesterday on Ancestry. So for the 1871 Census of Canada, and there was a sister that came yesterday to our classes that had some questions about this. And so I helped her afterwards, and we looked this up, and we looked up George Arthur. And she gave me permission to use her family as I taught this class. And he was born in well, I don't have it in my notes. Darn it. He lived in Mariposa, Victoria, Mariposa, Victoria. Well, it's not pulling out yet. Ontario, Canada. And he was born in Ireland. Okay, so when I do a search for him, lo and behold, here's a George Arthur living in Mariposa, Victoria, South, Ontario, in Ireland. So let's go directly to him and see if how we see him listed. And he is down here on this page, and I'm going to have to enlarge it. Now you will notice that their census is quite a bit different than ours. There is no date saying when this census was taken. And it says that the sub-district is Mariposa. And the sister that I was helping yesterday was distressed by that. She said, Mariposa is 100 miles away from the little village that he lived in. Well, that's because the census district included Mariposa and was named Mariposa, even though it was 100 miles away from the town that they lived in. So what we learn about him is that his name is George. He was 59 years old. He was born in Ireland. He was a farmer. Important to the Canadian census is, was he or was he not a member of the Church of England? And was he married or not? His wife was born in Ontario, Canada. And all of their children were born in Ontario, Canada. Now, since the daughter Elizabeth is at the bottom of the page, I better go to the next page. Maybe I just go to the next. Yeah, I better go using this arrow. And she will show up. Other children should show up at the top of this census. And so there they are. Now, one thing that upset this sister that I was helping yesterday is she said, the census is wrong. They list children that weren't born for 5 more years. She had down that Margaret was born about 1875, and John was born about 1874, and Thomas was born about 1870 something. And so she said, maybe this isn't my family. The other 8 children are all listed correctly, but the ages of all of the children are wrong. And she pulled up Family Search and showed me all of these children have approximate birth dates that are different than these. Now, what would you assume if you saw a census that was taken in 1871 and it listed children that you didn't think had been born before 1871? What would your conclusions be? Any of you willing to tell me?
Different
What
family.
would you say, Jeannie?
I don't know. I would, maybe they just squeeze them in later or something. I don't know.
I would say that Family
You
Search
can
was wrong.
squeeze anybody in later.
No,
Karen, what were you saying?
I would say that Family Search is wrong where they have the approximate ages. The census isn't always exact, but they're not going to list babies that haven't been born yet. So I would start looking at the birth dates a little differently.
Yes, and she can look at succeeding censuses and compare that, can't she? But I think that is very, very accurate, what you just told us. Now, she said, do you think I could go to the Church of England churches and find christenings for these babies and find out better birth dates? And I said, yes, I think you probably could. That's a very good idea. Now, how is she going to find out where to look for Church of England churches in nearby Mariposa, Canada? I think that probably about the best place is to go up to Family Search Wiki and look up Mariposa, Victoria South, Ontario, Canada, and see if they list any Church of England there. That's nice that she already knows for sure that they're Church of England. So, see, here's one that's a member of the Presbyterian Church. But the Church of England ones are good to have. And this gives her a pretty complete list of children of this family. If you look at the ages 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, and as we go forward to the backwards to the other page we were on and read the other children, with children being born at that period of time, that's probably pretty accurate in how many kids they have. 14, 16, 16. Do you think those are twins? 17. And so that gives her, I think, a very good record to begin with. So yes, she should look at the Church of England records, but I think she should also look 10 years later and see if she can find these same children 10 years later, either living with their father and mother or being married and on their own by now. It's very likely that 10 years from now, William is already married and that George is probably already married. She should be able to follow quite a bit more through by using the censuses. And that's why we call censuses the backbone of research in the United States and in Canada as well. Okay. The next census that I was going to show you is, and I'm going to do this by looking in Family Search. I'm going to come over here to one of my Family Search open tabs and go to Family Tree, because that's a quick way to get to jump right to him. Another way would probably be to go to Recents. Probably anybody that I looked at as recents lately would be listed under here. Since I looked him up last night, that's Niels Otto Mortensen. Another way to have found him would have been to go through the family tree and trace my line of descent from him. Now, Niels Otto Mortensen was born in Denmark, and Denmark does have a census some years. And I definitely can go to Wikipedia, Denmark, censuses, the same as we've been doing, and find him in the census. Now, I happen to know that somebody else has already done this research, and they have found him in Denmark censuses and have listed him in the sources on his family search page. So let's do that. And when we pull up the source in family search, first it's going to give us what the indexer wrote down. And then it is going to give us the link to that census. Now, I do not speak Danish. I do not read Danish. I don't have a background in Danish. And so when I look at this Danish census, I don't know what it's asking me for. But I do know that the indexer says, down here it gives me that the indexer says he was 27 years old. He was born in 1818. He's married and the house of his family and what the record number is. So I can follow that through and find him on this page. Actually, I think I've looked him up on 2 different censuses, and one of them I did never find him in, but I did find him in the other census. He's listed in the index as being on this page. He's probably a couple of pages one way or the other. And I would look at the couple of pages one way or the other by clicking on these little arrows right up here at the top. But so, Niels Otto Mortensen. So I can see that what his family looked like and how many children he had, and know what his family looked like before they moved to Utah. Now, there are lots of states that have censuses, and the way you find out if your country has censuses is to go to Wikipedia and look up on that right-hand page. After you've looked up their location, look over on that right-hand side and find that word censuses. And there were many other countries that had censuses, but they usually did not have them as routinely and as completely as the United States tended to do. So let's go to Wikipedia again. I'm going to close another couple of things. And so let's go to family search and look up search, research wiki. And this time the country we're going to look up is, we're going to look in North America, and we're going to come to Mexico. We're going to click on the country of Mexico. And in the county of Mexico, we're going to try Chihuahua. Now, I don't happen to have any ancestors that were in Mexico in 1830. But the one census that was in Mexico was in 1930. So I'm going to click that. At least that's what my brain tells me. Let's look and see if that's correct. Here it tells us a little bit about censuses. I want to get the page down. And so it's going to tell us what is in the 1930 census of Mexico and what we need to know about it. And it is going to say there are some important things to know if you're searching the census in Mexico. Accept the ages with caution. Given names may not always be the same as the names recorded in the vital records. Information may be incorrect. Names may be spelled as they sound. Place names may be misspelled or spelled phonetically. If a family is not at the suspected address, search the surrounding area, and parts of the census may be indecipherable. Okay,
Amen.
that is good to know. And John probably has done some research in Mexican censuses. I asked one of my friends to give me links to her family, and she said they all came before 1930. Okay, so I went to Chihuahua because I think I have friends that lived in Chihuahua in 1930. They lived, well, their parents anyway, they lived in the Mexican colonies in Chihuahua. They lived in Colonial Dublon and Colonial Juarez. But it says that you can search for this page, but you do not have permission to create the page. There's just not enough information there. So John, do you want us, if I go back, can you really quick give us somebody in your family, or should we just consider that enough since it's almost 8 o'clock?
I can be short. I've never even looked at the 1930 census because all of our records Janie's records go back beyond there in the 1800s and 1600s. But there are many censuses, but they were held normally in the Catholic Church records, and some priests made a census in his parish, and some dioceses required it, and others didn't. But 1930 was the first national census that was held.
Okay. And I was just now running my mouse over some of the states in Mexico, and they kept saying, this page does not exist. This page does not exist. This page does not exist. So that leads me to think that the censuses in Mexico are not as reliable as they are in the United States. Yeah. But their Catholic Church records are marvelous.
Amen.
The Catholic fathers wanted to make sure that everything that anybody could want to know about that baby was listed. Their grandparents, their parents, legitimacy, birthdays, all kinds of things. Who were their godmothers and godfathers, who were probably aunts and uncles. Those Catholic fathers did a beautiful job.
All you have to do is learn the writing.
If you can learn to read the writing, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Did any of you learn anything tonight that you're going to take home and apply to your family? Yeah. Maybe Angel will look up some German censuses.
I might, yes.
Maybe the rest of you won't find this was didn't particularly apply to you, but it very likely will apply to somebody that you help. I had never researched Canadian censuses. I don't have Canadian ancestors. But here yesterday at our indexing party was a sister who said, can you help me with this Canadian census? How can it know these children that weren't born yet? No. So this is the information that we very likely can use as we help others.
Can I make a comment? Short?
Yes, John, make a comment.
On the censuses and the things that we learn in these little lessons. I recently had occasion to sit down with a guy who had been working on it through the census records for his family members, and they were Czechoslovakian or Hungarian or something, with those long, weird names. And he'd literally been working weeks on trying to find anybody with the spelling as he was looking for. I remembered in our teaching somewhere that either you or Diane taught us about using the asterisk. And I said, well, I happen to know if you will type the first 3 letters, for example, in your name, it's about 15 letters long. If you'll type the first 3 letters and put an asterisk after that and do a search, then it'll give you all the people in that what you're searching that start off with the first 3 letters. And you can expand that out. Maybe you think the first 6 letters are all. Well, he used that, and about 10 minutes later, it just came in the other room and was just super excited because he just found a whole bunch of family members, but their name had been misspelled so horribly that he would never even imagine that they had been spelled like that. So it's just a phonetic spelling, and he found the whole thing. And I think I learned that in one of these little meetings that you have. We have.
I think that was one of Diane's instructions for us. We all ought to put that in our brain. Use the first three letters. If you're not finding somebody, use the first three letters and an asterisk of the last name. And especially if you know the county, search for everybody in that county or that state with that name. Something else that often helps is if you think you know who the children are in the family, choose the one with the most unusual name and search for her or him.
That census handout that I had last month and I had yesterday has some of those hints at the bottom of it, just in case you guys want to know.
Okay, so anybody that wants a copy of this handout that Diane has given us,
If you don't already
put a
have it,
note,
we can
put a note to Heather Topham some way or another, and she'll make sure you get it.
Could I
I'm
also,
speaking for Heather, and she's not even here.
could I ask a question, Nancy?
Yes.
People are talking about the census festival, or you had yesterday. I didn't get a notice of that, and I don't know if it was a private group or if it was just I didn't get a.
No, Heather may have just missed sending out the email because usually she's good about that. But I know that she's 7 months, almost 8 months pregnant, and so it might have slipped the mind a little bit.
Okay, so I shouldn't worry. It'll probably.
But just so you know, next month we're doing another one on the third. We're doing one on the third Saturday of every month this year. So next month we're going to do something similar. We may focus a little bit more on how to find a temple name, but we want to do more individualized things. So just put it on your calendar for the third Saturday of March at 9.
One of the things we're going to do as we get closer to the 24th of July is learning more about a specific pioneer ancestor or lots of pioneer ancestors. So the third Saturday of every month this year at 9 o'clock to 11.
And is there a link that stays the same from one time to another?
Well, that's in person at our stake center.
Oh, okay, in person. Okay,
In person.
okay.
And
I
we're
think
all
they're
starting to
relaxing
be confident
rules a bit.
that things are changing about mask use and other things for dealing with the pandemic. I had fun getting ready for this lesson and exploring the slave schedules and the matching regular census and the Canadian census and the Danish census. And so I had fun and learned some new things with it. And I hope that each of us will at some point in time be able to apply something that we talked about tonight. Do I have a volunteer for the closing prayer?
Oh, before the prayer, Angel,
Yes, Diane.
I keep forgetting to set up an appointment with you. Do you still want to get together?
Yes, I do.
Want to do it next Sunday? Is next Sunday a good time?
Yes. What time?
Tell me what time's good for you.
Church is at 1.
So mine's at
So-
11:30.
Okay. Do you want to do it like at 2:30? Oh, and then can I show you what else I got this last week? Okay, just a second.
By the way, my battery is saying that it's not plugged in right. So if you lose me, I'm sorry, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, so Ben's parents I'm taking pictures of objects for them. And then she said it would look
Okay.
good in my genealogy room. So this is a British coal miner lantern.
No way.
And then this came also from Wales. And then she gave me this. And I don't know if I get to keep it or not. And this is
Don't hold it in front of the lantern so we can see it better.
better.
Oh,
It's a coal
wow.
miner. There we go.
Oh,
Oh my
awesome.
goodness.
Anyway, so it's out of coal from Wales. And so Ben's grandpa was a coal miner before they came here. So
My ancestors were coal miners too, so that's
So-
awesome.
Ben's thing where they have the binder, the demise binder, because when they, pass away. So you write down, hold on, everyone just, I just got back from Cereal Sunday, sorry. You write down what you want in the binder and it has a date on it. And then everyone gets like a year on that object or not. So Ben said I had to call and see if somebody already claimed it. So, because she just gave them to me and I don't know if they're mine or not.
So this binder is a way
yours.
of distributing property of the parents upon their death.
Yes. And then when we were 5 years into it, I said, Ben, just go put all things in a binder. And no one's argued. And Ben and I will be married 19 years in March. So I get all the family history. So it's in.
You and Ben have been married 19 years?
In March. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does not seem like it's been that long.
I know, but this is.
How old is Sam?
Sam's 17.
Yeah. That puts it more into perspective for me.
No, he was out there asking people to pass the sacrament today because he's the only priest in our ward. And now we just got a family moved in. So we have a priest, a deacon, and a teacher.
Oh,
So we have
wow.
3. Yes.
Oh, how nice.
Anyway,
right in.
He was like the tallest one of all the men that came up to pass the sacrament. I'm like, oh, it's just big man.
Good for him.
But anyway, so those are like kind of little treasures. So it's fun.
Yeah.
So next week, Diane, what time did we say?
You tell me if you have church at 1, you need to wait till after church or.
Yes. Well, church 3. Can we do it in the morning? Is 9 o'clock too early on Sunday? Let's do it at 9. 10?
Let's attempt 9. 9 or 9:30.
9.
It's my only day to sleep.
I know, and then it depends on how the temple is. On what this.
Let's play it by ear.
Saturday.
Let's check with each other that morning when we wake up.
Yeah, because last night I got done early. I got home but everybody, they made schedules for the baptistry, and they're like, oh, the bishop said, I thought it would be okay. I know I said 16, but we brought like 25 get baptized. And we had like between 5 and 12 people extra on each hour. That was over the limit. So it was done. It was all good. So
let's just touch base in the morning.
I'll be watching the temples to see how the quotas increase.
Oh, the baptismal quota increased. Before it was only 16 patrons getting baptized, and now you can have 20 for each hour.
Oh, good.
And so
could I be all 20 people?
You can have 20 people getting baptized. They have increased each appointment for each hour.
Could I be all 20 people?
No. You'd be one. You know how they do. So it was.
But if I'm all 20, then I could do 100 names.
Yes, you could. If you can find an appointment in the baptistry. I was looking today because we have some names to do.
Our granddaughter that's visiting for the weekend was looking for the next appointment. She and her roommate could go to the Rexburg Temple, and it was the end of March.
Yes. Yeah.
Although if quotas increase, then there'll be more openings.
They are. And everybody was delightful last night. So it was good. It's good.
Good.
And I found a place to go to the temple the last 2 times, despite checking 2 or 3 times the morning of the session.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
That's good.
So
Erin, you haven't given any comments tonight. Do you have any comments to share with us?
Karen's awesome. She told me yesterday she majored, went through BYU and is it what do you call it?
Paleography.
That's right. I could remember the
handwriting.
Oh, wow.
So she's another expert out there.
Yeah. I did comment, Nancy. I did. Remember you asked about the birth dates, the extra.
Yes, and you had the right answer. You're right. You're right. You did answer.
So we're excited to meet Karen and be able to take advantage of her along the way.
So is everybody like has a family history calling here but me?
Oh, you call, I would say.
Your calling is
Temple has a
permanent.
family history
It's for your
calling.
life.
It's-
Yes, yes.
I don't have a calling.
Oh, you don't have a
I don't
calling?
have a family history calling. I just
Oh, good.
I
So
just
Karen and I-
graduated. Yep.
We're
So
just
that
lucky.
means I can do whatever I want and go rogue, huh?
Yes.
Well, whether we have one
Well,
or not,
we
have a
hope you will
self-imposed
keep
calling.
supporting us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I have learned so much from you guys. Every week I learn something new. And I come every week because eventually I'll catch up where I need to be and I'll refer back to these lessons.
And then you can start teaching.
Well, and I kind of think that that's how tonight's was. Tonight, we really didn't learn lots of new things. And I just realized one thing I didn't cover at all was using Find My Past to look up our English ancestors. But bit by bit, we're all learning a little bit of something that's going to help us some point when we need it.
That's true.
And I'm always pleased. Lots of weeks somebody says, because of such and such that you said, I looked up such and such and
Yes.
found something new. And that always pleases me when that happens.
Yeah. I became more comfortable looking in the wiki on how you described it. So
Good. I
Yeah.
became more comfortable looking in the wiki as I prepared my lesson.
okay. Yeah, good.
That's a real slick way to find censuses, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that is cool, Nancy, because especially since I can never find those crazy family search ones.
And of course, we all know there's
I mean, I
nearly
can
always
find
2
them
or
like
3 or
that
4
on
ways to do
Ancestry,
something.
but family search, now those are good.
I actually
Well, if we're
send people to-
talking about successes, I have to mention that my son today, my son doesn't, when he's in town, he doesn't like to visit my ward Sunday school for some reason. So he said, could we just have a family history class instead? So we went to the Family History Center and he did some checking hints and was able to push the Hugo line 2 generations further by using sources in Church of England parish records.
Yes.
Delightful, wonderful.
Yep, it's pretty exciting.
That's
Plus
awesome.
we started our family indexing group. So
Yeah.
that was profitable for us.
So I have to say, I send people to the research wiki all the time. Like I get questions on researching adoption, or someone's looking for their biological parents, or the Native Americans, or and I feel like the research wiki is a really good place for them to start when they don't know what they're supposed to do, what the steps are. And so that's the first place I send them. So
I think I
Awesome.
will improve as a researcher when I get more and more in the habit of doing that.
But I think it's in continually, I don't know anymore, but when I worked at the Family History Library, if we weren't on the counter, we were working on the wiki. And so I think that, I don't know if that's what they're still doing there, but you always have the benefit of people, working together and trying to add to it. And one of my coworkers actually is over it, and I think she's just passionate about it. So
My big
then they
problem,
try to coordinate with people around the country too, so that if
Yes.
somebody in a particular county has a lot of information, then they can add it to the wiki. I know that was the original intention. So it's a wonderful, wonderful resource. But I never thought of it for using it to find that dumb United States Census. They changed search and then you can't find it
Yes.
anymore.
Yeah.
my big problem is remembering to use what I already know.
Yes.
Well,
me too.
we all struggle with that.
Get out of my rut sometimes. Now, I've enjoyed this visit so much. that I'm having a momentary lapse of memory. Did we already have the closing prayer?
No, I interrupted
Okay.
it. I
No,
interrupted by
I
showing my
interrupted
treasures.
it. It was my fault. It was my fault.
I think that I was hesitant to ask Karen to give it, even